Peter was the first to question Jesus and said,
No, Lord, you don't have to wash my feet.
then Jesus said,
This very night, all of you will run away and leave me, for the scriptures say, God will kill the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But I tell you, after I am raised to life, I will go ahead of you to Galilee.
Peter spoke up and said to Jesus,
I will never leave, even though.
Jesus said to Peter,
Tonight, before the cock crows 3 times, you will say that you do not know me.
Peter answered,
Lord, not only my feet, but my whole body. I will never see them again, even to die.
then he turned and went out to the land of Galilee. When they arrived at the garden of Gethsemane, he said to them,
Sit here while I go over there and pray.
he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. Great angels came over him, and he said to them,
Sorrow in my heart is so great that it almost crushed me. Stay here and keep watch with me.
he went a little further on, threw himself face downward on the ground, and prayed. Then he returned to the three disciples and found them asleep. And he said to them,
How is it that you three were not able to keep watch with me for 1 hour? Keep watch and pray that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
once more Jesus went away and prayed.
My Father, this cup of suffering cannot be taken away unless I leave you. Your will be done.
He turned once more found the disciples did not keep their eyes on him. Again, Jesus left them, went away, and prayed, saying the same words.
My Father, this cup of suffering cannot be taken away unless I leave you. Your will be done.
Then he returned to the three disciples and said to them,
Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be handed over to the power of sin. Get up!
Jesus was still speaking when Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived. He came a large crowd, armed with swords and clubs, sent by the chief priests and the elders. The traitor had given the crowd a secret.
The man that I please is the one you want. Arrest him.
Judas went straight to Jesus and said,
Peace be with you, teacher.
and kissed him. Jesus answered.
Be quick about it, friend.
Then they came up, arrested Jesus, and held him tight. One of those who were with Jesus drew his sword and struck at the high priest's face. He said,
All who take his sword will die by his sword. Did you know I can call on my Father for help? And he will send me more than we want. How is what we do? But in that case, how can the scripture say that this is what must happen?
Then Jesus spoke to the crowd.
Did you have fun with swords and clubs to capture me, though I were an outlaw? Every day I sat down and thought in the temple, and you did not arrest me. But all this has happened in order to make what the prophets wrote in the scriptures come.
Then all the disciples left him and ran. Where the teachers of the law
again.
The high priest stood up and said to Jesus.
Have you no answer to this accusation against you?
But Jesus kept quiet. Again, the high priest spoke to him.
In the name of the living God, I put you on oath. Tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God.
Jesus answered him.
So you say. But I tell all of you, from this time on, you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the Almighty and coming down on the clouds of heaven.
At this, the high priest tore his clothes. And said,
Blasphemy! You don't need any more witnesses. You have tested your witnesses. What do you think?
they answered.
He is guilty and must die.
Then they spat in his face and beat him. And those who slapped him said,
Professor Pastor, son, get a reach.
Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. When one of the high priest's servant women came to him and said, he denied it in front of them all.
I don't know what you are talking about.
He answered, and went on up the entrance of the courtyard. Another servant woman saw him and said to the man, again Peter denied it and answered,
I swear, I don't know what you are talking about.
after a while, the man standing there came to Peter and said, Then Peter said,
I swear, may God punish me if I tell you. I do not know the truth.
just then a cock crowed, and Peter remembered what Jesus had told him. For the cock crowed, you will say 3 times that he is not Lord. He went out and wept. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders made their plans against Jesus to put him to death. They put him in chains, led him on, and handed him over to Pilate, the Roman governor. Jesus stood before the Roman governor and questioned him.
Are you the king of the Jews?
He asked, answered Jesus. But he said nothing in response to the accusations the chief priests and the elders made. So Pilate said to him,
Don't you hear all these things they accuse you of?
but Jesus refused to answer a single word. With the result that the governor was greatly surprised. At every Passover festival, the Roman governor was in the habit of setting free any prisoner the crowd asked for. At that time, there was a well-known prisoner named Barabbas. So when the crowd gathered, Pilate asked them,
Which one of these two do you want me to set free for you? Barabbas or Jesus called the Messiah?
he knew very well that the Jewish authorities had handed him over because they were jealous. The chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask Pilate to set Barabbas free and have Jesus put to death. But Pilate asked the crowd,
Which one of these two do you want me to set free for you? Barabbas!
they answered.
What then shall I do with Jesus the Messiah?
Pilate asked them.
Crucify him!
They all answered. But Pilate asked.
What crime has he committed?
Then they started shouting at the top of their voices.
Crucify him! Crucify him! Crucify him!
When Pilate saw that it was no use to go on, he took some water, washed his hands in front of the crowd, and said,
I am not responsible for the death of this man. This is yours.
the whole crowd answered.
Let the responsibility of his death fall on us and our children.
And Pilate set Barabbas free for them. And after he had Jesus whipped, he handed him over to be crucified. Then Pilate's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's palace, and the whole company gathered round him. stripped off his clothes and put the scarlet clothes on him. Then they made a crown out of thorny branches and placed it on his head, and put a stick in his right hand. Then they knelt before him and mocked him.
Long live the King of the Jews!
They said. They spat on him and took the stick and hit him over the head. When they had finished mocking him, they took the robe off and put on his clothes. Then they led him off to be crucified. Second station. Jesus takes up his cross. The response is, God, by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. We adore you, O Christ, and we praise you, because by your holy cross you have redeemed the world. Jesus knew that he was not guilty of any crime.